Hello everyone, and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Forrester Creations has long been seen as an unshakable empire in Los Angeles' glamorous but competitive high-fashion world, a family history founded on gorgeous creations, dramatic runways, and even more dramatic personal lives. But as the year 2025 comes to a close, cracks appear in the foundation, and at the center of it all is Hope Logan Spencer, Brooke Logan's tenacious daughter, whose famous line, "Hope for the future," has been both her triumph and her misery. Rumors are circulating among fans and insiders about Hope's possible stunning departure from the organization that has defined most of her adult life. Will she leave Forrester Creations in a blaze of defiance, and more importantly, will she endure the consequences, professionally, emotionally, and in the ever-tangled web of family loyalties? Hope's experience at Forrester has been anything but easy. Hope, a teenage designer who is inspired by her mother's legendary bedroom line, carved out her own place with Hope for the Future, a collection that stressed empowerment, modernity, and accessibility. It was a breath of fresh air in the wealthy, yet occasionally stuffy world of Forrester couture. However, the line has been threatened with cancellation on numerous occasions, most notably by Steffy Forrester Finnegan, whose rivalry with Hope mimics the ongoing enmity between their moms, Brooke and the late Taylor Hayes. Steffy, co-CEO with her father Ridge Forrester, has never concealed her preference for putting Forrester family interests first, and Hope's line has regularly been labeled underperforming or a throwaway during boardroom debates. This current tempest began when Steffy's brother, Thomas Forrester, returned from Paris with a strong desire to resume his role as lead designer for Hope for the Future. Thomas and Hope have a tumultuous relationship, passionate, toxic at times, and defined by obsession and grief. Years ago, their partnership created beauty on the runway, but it also resulted in Hope's first divorce from Liam Spencer. Now that Hope has remarried to Liam in a beautiful reunion wedding earlier this year, the prospect of working closely with Thomas again seems like a perilous retreat. Steffy, ever protective of her brother and eager to bolster Forrester blood in crucial positions, gave what many consider an ultimatum: make place for Thomas or face the repercussions. The first casualty was Deke Sharp, Hope's half-brother and a bright young designer whom she had mentored. Deke's designs were raw, edgy, and filled with a new energy that Hope believed might revitalize the collection. But Steffy and Ridge concluded there wasn't enough room for both him and Thomas. Hope was left with the sad responsibility of firing her own brother, which devastated her. Watching Deke pack up his sketches, his goals postponed, Hope felt the weight of the Forrester hierarchy crushed down once more. Logans and Sharps, no matter how talented, always appeared to take second place to the Forresters. As if that wasn't enough, broader changes within the corporation exacerbated Hope's dissatisfaction. Ridge gently but forcefully forced Eric Forrester, the brand's father and creative heart, into retirement, leaving him feeling ignored despite his lasting creativity. Katie Logan, Hope's aunt, had already become disillusioned with her position at Forrester, feeling overshadowed and underappreciated. Katie pounced at the opportunity when Bill Spencer, Katie's on-again, off-again love, and Hope's father-in-law through Liam, offered her the chance to run a brand-new fashion firm as a wedding gift after their own surprise nuptials. This new business, backed by Bill's immense finances, promised independence from Forrester control, a location where the Logans could actually lead. The customary drama fueled the fire. The Logan moniker, long connected with Forrester via Brooke's bedroom and other collaborations, had mysteriously vanished. Liam Spencer, ever the good son and husband, raced to get it for Katie's new business, while Carter Walton attempted to renew it for Forrester. The conflict represented deeper divisions, Forresters clinging to their dominion and Logans demanding freedom. Brooke, who was strongly committed to Ridge and the Forrester legacy, battled with Katie and accused her of treason. Family dinners became acrimonious, with Donna caught in the center, split between her sisters and her husband, Eric. For Hope, these events formed a perfect storm. Staying at Forrester meant swallowing her pride on a daily basis, working under Steffi's orders, partnering with Thomas despite the emotional hazards, and watching her hope for the future idea watered or ignored. Her line had been interrupted, restarted, and threatened so frequently that it felt like a yo-yo controlled by others. Furthermore, with Deke likely moving into Katie's new home, rumors say Katie gave him an opportunity for a fresh start. Hope felt alienated. Her brother, an ally in the design department, has left because of Forrester's favoritism. Whispers in the business predict Hope's departure would be spectacular and theatrical, possibly announced during a furious boardroom debate or a high-stakes fashion show. Consider the scene. Hope, dressed elegantly in one of her own designs, stands in front of Ridge, Steffi, and the team, proclaiming that she's tired of battling for scraps at a table where she's never been treated equally. She may leave her office, taking her designs and legacy with her, swearing to start something new where her voice is most valued. However, the nagging question remains, will she survive? The bold and the beautiful's harsh world of fashion and family strife makes clean departures rare. Professionally, Hope has opportunities that could lead to success. Katie's new fashion firm, which is booming as a Logan-led powerhouse, is tailor-made for her. With Bill's backing, Eric possibly contributing designs in his semi-retirement, and Deke on board, Hope could launch a completely new line, perhaps an extension of Hope for the future, free of Forrester meddling. There will be no ultimatums or favors, only total creative control. It would be an opportunity to demonstrate that Logan's skill shines clearest without Forrester's shadow. Personally, I believe that survival will be more difficult. Hope's identity is inextricably linked with Forrester Creations. It is where she grew up professionally, where she fell in love many times, and where her mother reigns as a matriarch with Ridge. Leaving could damage her relationship with Brooke, who is still heavily invested in the Forrester world. Liam, who is now a Spencer through and through, may welcome a relocation to his father's endeavor, but old feuds with Bill may flare up again. And Thomas's return was partially prompted by unfinished feelings for Hope. If she walks away, refusing his partnership, it may spark his obsession or drive him more into Steffi's camp. Hope has consistently demonstrated emotional resilience. She has faced scandals, grief, line cancellations, and public humiliation. Surviving a daring getaway would entail recovering her control and turning anguish into purpose. Fans predict that this might usher in a new era for Hope, stronger, more independent, and possibly even leading a rival house that threatens Forrester's dominance. It mimics prior rivalries from the Spectra era, adding new competition into the show. However, danger looms throughout the story. Steffi will not take Hope's departure lightly. Expect allegations of treachery, sabotage, or legal disputes over designs and trademarks. Ridge might beg Hope to stay, torn between his daughter and his wife's daughter. Brooke may feel betrayed if Hope totally joins with Katie and Bill. And, in typical soap opera fashion, personal entanglements might complicate everything. Old flames rekindling, new alliances emerging. As December 2025 approaches, with holiday parties hiding underlying tensions and New Year's resolutions looming, Hope is at a crossroads. Her daring exit, if it occurs, will not be silent. It will be a declaration that Hope Logan Spencer will no longer reduce herself. Whether she succeeds in a new venture or encounters unexpected challenges, one thing is certain: Hope will survive. She is, after all, a Logan, formed from resilience and ready to shape her own future. The fashion world waits nervously, wondering if this is the end of an era at Forrester or the start of something even more daring. With each episode, the intrigue grows deeper. Hope's chats with Liam reflect her inner anguish. She adores her husband and treasures their renewed vows, but she wonders if staying means sacrificing her soul. Liam, who is both supportive and cautious, reminds her of past pains while also encouraging her happiness. Meanwhile, Katie extends olive branches, implying intriguing chances with no pressure. In quiet moments away from the office, Eric confides in Donna about his own retirement regrets, possibly setting seeds for him to guide Hope somewhere. Steffi's perspective offers depth. She sees Thomas as the key to rejuvenating the line, feeling that his track record trumps Deke's. To her, it's business, not personal, but the personal history makes it impossible to separate. Ridge strikes a tricky balance, loving Brooke while supporting his children. The winner of the trademark, which will be determined soon, might tip the scales. If Katie obtains Logan, her house gains respectability, making it irresistible to Hope. Fans engage in heated debates online. Some celebrate Hope's exit as long overdue empowerment, tired of her line being in constant threat. Others believe it undermines the primary Forrester-Logan dynamic. But what about survival? Hope has endured worse. Infant losses, manipulations, and public shame. This might be her Phoenix moment. In the end, Hope's daring move, whatever it is, will redefine relationships. If she stays and fights for her place, it strengthens her resolve. If she quits to join Katie's vision, it will launch a war of houses, with runways serving as battlegrounds. In any case, Hope Logan will not only survive, but also evolve, demonstrating why she is such an important character in this long-running series. The question is not whether she will make it, but how magnificently she will emerge from the ashes of Forrester's golden prison. The corridors of Forrester Creations had never been quieter, but the silence was tinged with anxiety, as if the walls themselves were bracing for impact. Hope Logan stood near the executive wing's glass doors, her reflection staring back at her in broken angles. She could barely recognize the lady she saw. Months of whispered assessments, abrupt power shifts, and decisions made behind closed doors had corroded her once invincible confidence. For years, this structure had served as her second home, where she had poured her love, creativity, and hope that fashion could be more than just a source of profit. It now felt like a cage. Hope's fingers gripped on the leather strap of her purse as memories flooded in unexpectedly. Long evenings spent drawing designs with her crew. When a collection was ultimately put together, laughter echoed throughout the workroom. She was filled with pride when Hope for the Future originally appeared, not as a brand, but as a philosophy. Sustainability, integrity, and compassion. Everything she thought Forrester Creations could symbolize. However, somewhere along the way, those values began to feel like liabilities rather than strengths. Before Hope said anything, Brooke Logan noticed a movement across the office floor. A mother always knew. Brooke observed her kid with a familiar mix of concern and passionate protection. She'd seen this expression before, on her own face years ago, when she realized a chapter of her life was coming to an end whether she was ready or not. Brooke approached cautiously, trying not to startle Hope, as if one incorrect word might shatter what little determination her daughter had accumulated. "You don't have to do this," Brooke stated quietly. Hope did not turn around. Her voice, when she did speak, was firm yet hollow. "Yes, I do. If I stay, I'll lose myself completely." The truth of that statement struck Brooke harder than any argument could. Hope had struggled for weeks to fight the changes that were taking place around her. She had spoken out against decisions that placed ego above ethics, dominance over teamwork. She had protected her position against subtle sabotage and outright criticism. However, the pressure had been constant, and the message was clear. Hope Logan was no longer welcome until she agreed to bend. What stung the most was not simply the professional betrayal. It was personal. The people who formerly supported her vision now regard her as an impediment. Boardroom grins hid harsh intents, and each requested compromise seemed like a small surrender of her soul. Steffi Forrester was in another area of the building, engaged in conversation with her father, unknowing that the moment she had both anticipated and feared was approaching. Eric Forrester's visage was tired, laced with sadness, which he attempted desperately to conceal. He treated Hope like family. In a lot of ways, she was like family. Nonetheless, the corporation bearing his name was altering in ways that he fought to manage. "She's walking away," Eric stated gently, more as a statement than a question. Steffi's jaws constricted. "She is making a choice. Just like the rest of us," she murmured, but her eyes flickered with doubt. She pushed for bold leadership and clear lines of control. She believed that Forrester Creations need power and direction. However, she was beginning to see that strength could quickly lead to dictatorship. and losing Hope entailed losing something valuable. Hope returned to the elevators and finally turned to face her mother. Her eyes glistened, but she refused to shed tears. I believed that if I worked harder and proved myself repeatedly, it would be enough. But it's never enough when someone has already decided you don't belong. Brooke reached out and gently squeezed Hope's hands. You belong wherever you decide to stand. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Hope hesitated as the elevator doors slid open. This was the point of no return. Stepping inside means more than quitting a job. It meant giving up a desire she had cultivated since she was a child, a hope connected to her family's legacy and her own identity. The weight of that realization crushed against her chest, making it difficult to breathe. Right then, Liam Spencer appeared at the end of the corridor. He had arrived as soon as he heard whispers about Hope's decision. Something inside him snapped when he saw her standing there with her luggage in hand. He'd been in this world for too long to miss a breaking point. Hope, he shouted out, his voice full of urgency. She glanced at him, and for a brief time, the barriers she had constructed around herself threatened to collapse. Liam embodied so much of her past, love, grief, hope, and heartbreak all intertwined. I can't stay, Liam, she began before he could respond. Not like this. I know, he said, moving closer. I just want you to know you aren't failing. You're surviving. These words struck her differently than any other reassurance she'd received. Surviving. Is that what it was? It felt less like survival and more like venturing into the unknown without a safety net. Yet beyond the terror, there was a hint of something else. Relief. The elevator doors started to close, but Liam reached out and stopped them just in time. Whatever happens next, he promised, you won't be alone. Hope nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. I need to find out who I am without all of this. With that, she entered. The door slid shut, closing off the familiar world behind her. As the elevator descended, Hope leaned back against the mirrored wall, letting tears to fall. Each brought grief, fury, and tiredness, but also something else, release. Outside the building, the sunshine was bright after the office's regulated illumination. Hope took a deep breath, the city's noise reminding her that there was life outside corporate corridors and power conflicts. She wasn't sure where she was headed next. She only knew that remaining would have devastated her. But fate, as it often did, was not finished with her yet. Across the street, an automobile came to a screeching halt, its tires groaning against the pavement. Hope barely had time to register the sound before the world shook violently. The hit pushed her reeling, and her bag flew out of her grip. As she hit the ground, pain surged through her body, and the sky above her blurred into blue and white. Voices shouted. Someone screamed her name. The irony was awful. After trying so hard to retake control of her life, everything changed in an instant. At the hospital, time appeared to lengthen and compress simultaneously. Brooke walked the waiting area, her hands trembling despite her attempts to remain calm. Liam stood nearby, remorse written on every line of his face. Would things have changed if he had arrived sooner and insisted on walking Hope out? Doctors moved with trained precision, their emotions remaining neutral. When someone finally approached, the room went silent. She's stable, the doctor explained. But she received a heavy blow. We're looking into internal damage and a possible concussion. Brooke exhaled shakily, tears falling freely now. Stable. The term seemed like a frail promise. Can we see her? In a little while, the doctor said. She needs to rest. Hope lay comatose, equipment beeping quietly around her, her thoughts wandering through bits of recollection and feeling. The faces of her children. The sensation of fabric between her fingers. The sound of laughter filled the design room. And behind it all, a recurring question echoed. If she lived, what kind of life would she have? When her eyes eventually opened, the world seemed muffled, as if wrapped in cotton. Brooke's face came into view, filled with concern and affection. Hey, Brooke said quietly, pushing Hope's hair back gently. You're fine. You scared us. Hope attempted to speak, her throat parched and her body throbbing. "Did I leave?" she whispered. Brooke grinned through her tears.
"Yes."
"You left." Hope closed her eyes again, a slight grin appearing on her lips despite the pain. She'd left Forrester Creations behind. It was unclear if that exit would mean the end of her tale or the start of something altogether new. But as she fell back asleep, one truth remained firmly in her heart. She was still here. And sometimes, surviving meant more than just getting through the storm. It was sometimes about having the bravery to walk away before the storm engulfed you, and then finding the strength to start over, even when the path ahead was unclear.